Welcome back. This is episode 2 with Run It with Renee. Here, I bring people that I believe can create insight and inspiration to the audience watching. And today, I'm fortunate to have
Trenton Laskey.
Trenton Laskey. Trenton Laskey grew up in Howard City, Michigan, where his athletic journey actually began in high school cross country. Instead of following the traditional college route, he went for about 2 seasons and then drove straight into the workforce, taking on multiple jobs at a time while pursuing his passion for fitness. Now he's a personal trainer, an online coach with a proven track record, not only transforming his own physique on stage as a competitive bodybuilder, but also guiding clients to success, recently winning one of his clients one of his classes. Today, we're unpacking Trenton's evolution from pounding the pavement to flexing under stage lights, from early runs to entrepreneurial hustle. Let's get into it, man. So, like I mentioned, the whole running roots, just like me, myself, a distance runner, actually getting right back into it. Got a season coming up here. So, athletic life and cross country, man. When did you realize that maybe it wasn't your thing, but when did it start? How'd that work out?
So it started, admittedly, it was so all of my athletic kind of jerseys and things. I grew up with my mom being a varsity cheer coach, and one of those things where it's like, hey, you best always be doing something. So I tried ball-oriented sports, baseball, soccer, football, all those other things. Never really panned out for me, just for the sake of I wasn't too hand-eye coordinated at the time and all that. And I found some relative success doing like little track camps and things like that when I was way younger and all that stuff. Got into middle school, dabbled a little bit more with stuff like that. And then high school hit, I really truly found that passion for, cross country. Track a little less so. Something about the difference between a trail and a track just, made the world a difference to me. So cross country is what I just kind of laid into sports wise and enjoyed every second of it.
No, man, 100%. I agree. I did all the sports growing up: basketball, football, little league, all that stuff. Um, wasn't too hand-eye coordinated either. My dad really, really, really wanted me to play football, but unfortunately had to disappoint him with the whole cross country and track route. But he was pretty happy when he didn't have to pay too much for college. So it was definitely a different thing. And I agree with you on the whole track thing. I was actually a really, really big track fan in high school. And then when I got to college, I realized I love cross country way more than I love track, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, some would say bodybuilding is a disciplined sport, right? Because it's not like you have a practice, right? It's not like you have anything. You have to go and show up for yourself. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
like someone's
totally.
going to make you organize anything for you. I'm sure you have a coach, but at the end of the day, they're not going to pick you up and take you into that gym and make you do it, right? You
No,
know?
yeah, exactly.
And so cross country, similar, right? No one's going to make you run, but at the end of the day, you do have a little bit of structure.
Mhm.
So what would you say is something a lesson that you took from cross country that you now take into sort of competitive bodybuilding?
Honestly, it kind of during my final years of cross country is when mainly my senior years finally when it hit me, it's like, dang, I should be competitive in this. I shouldn't just do this to get it over with. I should like do it
Yeah.
because I'm able to and I can do a semi decent job because it hit me one of my first races of my senior years. I got some light college scouting going on for me. I went to this one meet that was held at a Fair State University over here in Michigan. I had a coach come up to me and be like, "Hey, we have practices and all that stuff. If you want to like come over and run a practice with us," it finally clicked to me. It's like, okay, I'm good enough at this thing. I was never gonna go D1 or anything like that, but it's like colleges and schools, like people at a level that I never thought I'd ever go to in the sport actually see me as a like viable possible athlete for their team. So that hit me. It gave me a good sense of self-worth essentially for that whole ordeal. And from there, my competitive nature, my drive to do, bigger things that could kind of be so, the want to do bigger things that would be more than who I was at the time, it just really started growing. When I went to audition for music school and all that stuff, that kind of feel of just like I know I'm good enough to do this really did stem from that first initial breakthrough of like, holy crap, I'm able to perform well in this athletic realm. So the carry through was really just like that sense of confidence, that ability to kind of be able to realize, okay, it's on me. It's on me to do this thing I want to do. If I want to hit a PR this race, my coach ain't sure as hell going to do that for me. I got to do it for myself. And the same thing goes for lifts and all that stuff. Making sure I'm eating right, making sure I'm training as hard as I possibly can, following all my plans. It's like, yes, I can be, kind of, push in the right direction, but for me to actually kind of thrive in that direction, it's all on me. And that's something that I definitely found to carry across very, very well.
No, man, seriously, I think that's a good mindset to have is to be able to realize it's the same for me as well. It's like when you realize someone actually cares enough about you to feel that you're, viable for something, it kind of puts you into a whole different perspective. You're not just kind of going with emotions anymore. You're kind of like, oh man, like I should really like kind of lock in on something because obviously I'm providing some sort of value. And I was the same way with track and cross country. I was obsessed with it, freshman, sophomore year. But I never had my first ever, email or phone call until my senior year. And it just kind of hit me like a truck that someone thought I was worthy enough to sort of come and compete for them and kind of, be there for 4 years per se, or even 2 years, some community colleges here and there. Um, but yeah, man, no, I like that. I like that a lot. Would you say you have any sort of, just to like, calm it down a little bit, would you say you have any memorable times from cross country? I know that it was a while back. I mean, you're 21 now, so I believe you didn't run in college, did you?
I had a little kind of shtick for a second where I wasn't quite committed to bodybuilding, and I would do some running and all that stuff. Be like, maybe I can be a walk-on for my team. Who knows?
Yeah.
But as that whole went, like we might talk about that transition later. We'll get there when we get there. But for a second after high school, I still was running and all that stuff over the summer and stuff. But yeah, I mean, what was the question one more time?
Oh, I was gonna say, did you have any memorable moments
Oh,
whenever you were in high school and cross country? I know
oh
that
yeah.
it was a while back, but like, was there any times that you were like, man, this is something that I really, really do enjoy because of this moment that happened? You
Oh
know?
my gosh. Every single year, there's something that happens, at least in the air in Michigan. It might happen in other states across the US as well. But there's a certain kind of like flip of a switch where it's like you breathe in, you're like, it's fall now. And that feeling, that just kind of nostalgia that comes with it, running in a little bit more crisp of air than it was
Oh,
during the humid summer months and all that stuff. The ability to like not have to, be sweating absolute bullets, in just kind of like, a lighter long sleeve shirt and things like that. Just those cool, like very tranquil runs, whether it be a tempo or just a timed one. Those are some of my favorites just because like it's very cross country, it's a sport. There's always going to be that kind of pressure to do better than you did the last week at a meet and all that stuff, but those like longer runs were just like recovery oriented or just maybe just like endurance oriented without too much of a push behind it. Some of my favorites, and honestly the camaraderie, that is a big thing that I do kind of miss as far as the whole sport I chose in the long run, because the thing about having that team behind you, whether whether they were sincerely maybe pushing you to be your best or just kind of goofing around and having a good time, just that sense of community that cross country brought, it would be wonderful because you'd all meet up, do your warm-ups, run out, go whatever direction you do. But regardless on like what route you take, you always end up back in that general family of the
mhm.
team. That's something I always like, I will reminisce on and think of, because bodybuilding, it's very
It's a
one,
lonely sport, man.
it is
Yeah.
both selfish at times,
Yeah.
selfless and others and stuff like that. And that ability to kind of, be a little bit more isolated, kind of hunker down in that regard. It's definitely something that has kind of helped in the long run, and kind of honing in that specific set has been nice. Be a little bit more self-reliant, but there's not a day that goes by where it's like, damn, I wish I had a team more or less kind of behind
Yeah.
all that stuff.
No, man, I 100% agree. Camaraderie is like one of the biggest thing about cross country. I mean, I ran 3 years of cross country in college and I ran all 4 years of high school. And there's one thing that, you might be suffering, but at least you're suffering together, right? When
Uh-huh.
it's all said and done, you guys are going to go on that bus. You guys are going to go get some Mexican food. You guys are going to go like have fun,
Hmm.
even after all the suffering, right? And so I think camaraderie is such an underrated thing when it comes to sports like that because this team isn't very big. So you're with each
Nope.
other all the time, right?
Hmm.
Versus, I played football, I played basketball. When things got tough, we like yelled at each other. We fought, like, oh, you didn't even play, be quiet,
Hmm.
like stuff like that. And it's a very toxic environment, at least for me. And I've heard it many other stories as well. Friends with a lot of people on the football team here at Graceland that they fight. It's just such a big team sport that like there's not as much camaraderie at the end of the day versus whenever you have a little bit of a smaller team. And there's no disrespect to any, ball oriented sports.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
camaraderie, but at the end of the day, I do feel like cross country is one of those tighter ones just because the team is so small. But second, I want to mention you touched on bodybuilding being selfish, right? And I know we're not in the bodybuilding realm yet, but I do want to kind of bring this topic up anyways. I agree. Bodybuilding is selfish, right?
Mhm.
As anybody may know, I mentioned earlier that Trent is a bodybuilding coach, and I had Trent as a coach for about 7 weeks. And it was during those 7 weeks that I learned a lot about bodybuilding that I never knew before. I was always kind of like, should I get a coach? I know how to count calories. Like, or should I just get a coach for like the final 4 weeks? Stuff like that. And I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna get a coach. He's affordable. He's nice. I mean, I don't see why not, right? And so, I learned a lot, man. It's definitely one of the most mentally dragging things that I've ever been through. It's
Mhm.
way, in my opinion, was way tougher than cross country ever was. Because at least with cross country, you can go eat some pizza, smack down, like
Yep, yep, yep,
chug
yep.
some, tight soda, all that stuff. Like you can, have fun and move at the end of the day. But
Mhm.
in bodybuilding, when you're on 2,000 calories a day or 1,900, you start to get a little frustrated,
Oh
very
yeah.
frustrated.
Hmm.
And I'll be the first one to admit here, I got frustrated fairly often during my cut. Um, I got leaner, which I'm proud of, but I did get pretty frustrated. And it wasn't something I was very proud of in the sense of like, that's not the guy I wanted to be per se. Like
Yeah.
I didn't like who I was when I was kind of upset at very little things. I
Hmm.
noticed that I would like either curse more often and I never really cursed before, or I
Hmm.
would get upset at very small things. And so that's just something I wanted to touch on before we ever get to the bodybuilding part that I do
Hmm.
agree, man. I do agree it's a selfish sport. And but
Hmm.
also it is very fulfilling. I
Oh
know
yeah.
I'm sure I haven't stepped on stage yet, but I'm sure that part is very fulfilling.
Oh,
So
it incredibly so, yeah.
I bet, man. So enough with the cross country, right? I talk about cross country all the time. I'm cross country running.
Yeah.
Choosing a different path. So you went to undergrad for 2 years. You did music. What was that like? And what was your sort of plans at the said time? And maybe they're the same plans now, but you
Yeah.
know, kind of like walk me
Mhm.
through that.
So the idea at the time was it kind of hit me my junior year of high school. That was like my COVID year essentially. So what happened there is I would show up for band in the morning, then, leave to do online schooling back at home, then come back for cross country and all that stuff. What I ended up doing actually is I'd go there, head back, online schooling, then I'd show up a little bit earlier prior to practice and just help out because I'd get all my online classwork done because it was very much a breeze. I'd help out at the middle school with their kind of band classes, just kind of be around, help brass players kind of, play a little bit better, teach them fingerings, kind of work on maybe the trouble students one-on-one a bit more, just to try to get some progress in that regard to, kind of make life easier. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And by finding that enjoyment and working on that, it's like, wow, I enjoy, teaching kids and, music together. This seems like a great little thing. I really, and at the time, my band director was probably the biggest like role model I had had in my life up
Mm-hmm.
to that point because he was the same guy when I was in 11th grade. He was the same guy teaching me all the way in sixth. So he not to get a little bit too depressing. I mean, it is what it is, but he was around more often than my father was, in all honesty,
I
during
got
those
you,
kind of
man.
formative years. So when it came to like what I viewed as a positive male role model, I'm like, that's the guy, that's the dude. So I obviously looked up to him a fair bit. It's like, he does the band director stuff. Heck, I'm good enough in music and all this stuff. I'm gonna, go set my eyes on that. So I did. My mom went to CMU. I know CMU, Central Michigan University, had a good education program and all that stuff. A lot of different teachers go there. So I'm like, okay, music school, good education program. We'll go in that direction. And went, auditioned, made it in, luckily. And with that, the goal was a simple 4-year track. I'd done some dual enrollment things in high school, so it was gonna be hopefully a little shorter overall. Went off to school, did that. And also at the time, it's, I was still running during the summer leading up to that year and all that stuff to the college semester in the fall. And I also wanted just to kind of add some muscle to my frame. I'm 5'6". I was, and being a cross country runner, I was very petite as well.
Yeah,
So I just kind of thought it'd be a cool thing, put on some mass and all that because, being around, being in more of a kind of a rural kind of area, like the guys who were always looked up to the most for kind of, the football players that had a little bit more beef to their frame, want to add some.
yeah.
So I started lifting and stuff in hopes of, just kind of bettering my running performance by adding some muscle, be a little bit more explosive with my movements. And yeah, from there, honestly, the main goal was like, be a band director, try to run a marathon in the next like 2 to 3 years once I got into school, and just kind of go that path was initially the original idea.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, unknown fact, I actually was in band for about 2 years. So
Hey.
know a little bit of things about here to a band director. Played the flute. Wasn't very good, but I played it. Um, so music wasn't my thing, but I think that's very interesting, right? I mean, people are like, oh, big, like you said yourself, you're 5'6", but at the end of the day, you can tell you're muscular, man. Like even in this sweater right here, you can tell you're muscular. So it's like, oh, muscular guy plays, Well, what instrument did you play actually?
Oh, trumpet.
But yeah, see, I mean, who's walk in on the jacked muscular guy with the biceps playing the trumpet, right? That's such an interesting sight to see, right? And so I think that's pretty neat about you is that like you just have all these kind of like unique things about you that most people probably wouldn't assume per se.
Yeah.
But like, and I say that now as seeing how like beefy you really are. I mean, you are 5'6", but at the end of the day, you are a pretty large individual.
Oh,
So
thank you.
hey, something to think about, something to think about. So yeah. So you said you did 2 years. So what was the mindset once you kind of took this little pause break, right? And you kind of went into the workforce, taking on multiple jobs, you know,
Hmm.
I'm online personal training, stuff like that, but also you took some jobs that are like in the real world, right?
Oh
Getting
yeah.
hands-on, doing sales.
Hmm.
Kind of walk me through that, right? Like what's that like for you?
Oh geez, it was kind of what admittedly I was expecting. The change and the pause kind of just came from the point where I was just really not enjoying school, to put it mildly. I was doing the stuff, doing music academia, and it just wasn't what was feeling right at the moment. Now, mind you, I kind of, as I've had time to more or less focus mainly on me and all that stuff, I kind of look back and wonder if maybe I was just kind of unnecessarily stressed, and maybe that's what kind of caused the change. But the big thing for me is like I'm someone who very much doesn't I will not I don't like doing things I don't like doing, which is
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no,
that's right.
it's fair.
Yeah. So worst case scenario, I thought to myself, it's like, I'll get some experience out in the real world, see how that's going, be able to kind of pursue this bodybuilding thing with a little less hindrance, essentially, to my own little world. And honestly, the transition, it was very fun. Like, it was really nice to kind of go from a place, the music world in college is it's a really odd place because there's so much that matters only in like the music world that no
Yeah.
one else outside cares about.
Yeah. It's
But
not like Lee, man.
no, no, yeah, it's it's so bizarre because it's like, when you're in the band world and all that stuff, chair placements, that means a lot to anybody else. You just say you're in some kind of wind ensemble, that's the baseline. It doesn't matter what place you are or like how good you are in said like, ensemble. It's just that you're there. Because I've played with notorious like, pretty good jazzers essentially. And I could name drop, but no one would have any idea of who
No
they
one knows
are
who that
outside
is.
of
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, I'll be
it
honest,
felt
man. I don't know any jazz players
no,
either.
exactly. And it became of this very jarring experience to be so in depth in this world that meant nothing outside of that world. So I felt very lost and very just kind of in like an own little universe separate from the real world. So to get back into the real world in a sense, it's like, okay, I'm now working with people, driving, doing sales and all this stuff, all these other things. It felt very reconnecting to kind of be a part of, the actuality of like what I kind of more or less used to know when I wasn't so immersed in the world of music and things like that. And I mean, the shift is long. I mean, for me, was I the best student? No. Was I a hard worker when I needed to be? Yes. So that kind of trait carried over very, very well into the workforce because then it's just like, what do you have to do? Get a certain thing done. And my favorite part about it, especially with academia, there are many of things that's like, you have to follow this certain pathway to find this thing, then find this and connect the dots and all that stuff. In the workforce, I've just found as long as like um you know uh objective A gets done whatever way it gets done, you're good. And
Yeah.
I find that kind of simpleness of it to have been really nice to kind of readapt to. I didn't stress as much in the midst of just kind of doing more brain-oriented things. So overall, all that long little tangent aside, it was honestly a really easy change and one that was honestly quite welcome.
No, I mean, I 100% agree. I think that people focus so much on like growing up, you'd be like, don't worry about what other thing people think. Do what you want to do. Focus on so much that, like shut out the outside world. This is what you want to do. Follow your heart no matter what it is. Like even if it's so super niche, right?
Yeah.
As long as you love it at the end of the day. And they don't know how that not that they don't know, but sometimes it can be mentally draining to like be in a world where no one knows, to have to
Mhm.
worry about what you're gonna do or what's gonna go on next.
Mhm.
For I'll be honest, when I quit running for about 8 months, it was very like relieving to like, oh, I just gotta go hit go hit back today and then call it a day. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
like it's so relaxing to be able to just go in and do what you have to do, like you said, method A or point A, and then
Mhm.
boom, doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you got it done. Versus,
Mhm.
when you're running, when you're doing that, you got to go plan your run, you got to show up to the practice, you got to, do school, you got to come back and try to fit in your lift. And let's say you don't, and beyond, for me, I love lifting a lot more than I love running, even though I'm definitely better at one of the others. But I like having a good lift. No one wants to have a shitty lift. And so to me, it's like, oh, maybe you didn't get your meals in that day. Maybe you're not as hydrated because you're so busy. And so when you have only one method to focus on, it's super simple to just be so efficient at it and not worry about anything else going on. And
Exactly.
so I think that's honestly, and I think that's nice of you to admit that per se. I personally don't see anything wrong with it, but some people might be like, well, obviously you like music. Why aren't you following your heart? You know? But you're
Mhm.
just being truthful about it, right? And you're just saying, hey, like this is mentally draining. I wanted to walk into a different world.
Yeah.
So I did sales too, actually. I sold life insurance for a little bit. Be honest, I hated it.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
did it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I did all the interviews. I got called back. They were actually done um calling people and saw my thing and said, hey, we're done, but we would really like you to come in. Now, could there be some snazzy line they say to get anybody to come? Sure. But to
Yeah.
me, it felt like, okay, I did acquire some skills in college that are essential to the real life world. And I
Mhm.
went and took them and I did a decent job. I mean, we got some old people, some cheaper prices, we did a good thing at the end of the day,
Mhm.
but it wasn't for me. And there's a lot of money involved in that would have really, really helped me out. I could have
Mhm.
lived in a lot bigger city than where I'm at right now.
Mhm.
If I chose that route and took that money. But I realized that it's not what I loved. And I realized I had a
Mhm.
sense of anxiety going into work every day that like I would worry about, and then I would have the Sunday scaries every single time, right? Like every single time I'd go to work, like I don't want to be here, and I'd show up to work, put on my best game face, realize I hated it, and
Mhm.
so I decided to resign, right? So I resigned a little bit, and the next day, I still had my backup job. I was working at Walmart before I did this. I was working at Walmart in college, and I told them that I'll come back to work, and so they said, okay, cool, we want you here, right? And I
Mhm.
remember walking into Walmart that day and I'd being like, wow, I have never been more excited to go shop for other people. Like, I'm smiling at everybody. How you doing, man? Have a good day. Talking to everybody, getting everybody's orders out. Like, I'm just so happy to be at Walmart. And this is no cue or no rude thing about anybody who works at Walmart. I think Walmart's actually a really good job. Um, but I remember just being so happy that I was like, wow, I really didn't like this other job so much that I was so happy to go back to my regular 9 to 5.
Mhm.
And so that's what we're doing now, man. We're chasing nutrition and human performance masters.
Yes,
So
sir.
so we're on a different route now, man. But we're focused on you, man. So do you think that this little sort of pause in your life, right, taking a brief after 2 years, has there been moments where you feel like it hurt you, or has there only been moments where you feel like it's only been positive since then?
Oh, I mean, I think with any kind of larger choice in regards to like a pathway, especially like the career-oriented one, given just how things are, I feel like the times are, very money centric and things like that, and how much people talk about money and all this other stuff. To do something that like very vastly just kind of adjusts the kind of reliability of, your next paycheck in the future is going to come with its a fair bit of downs, but also the upsides that come, the return and freedom that you get for such a kind of choice. And for me, definitely a hefty mix of both. There have been times where I've felt incredibly low and really like nice high points as well. Um just obviously I think the biggest thing for me is so the main thing I did over this last kind of first year of just kind of taking a breather from the more academic route of things, did a lot of substitute teaching which I enjoyed to heck and back. And it got me kind of thinking essentially in regards to like I was going to be a teacher. And now I'm just doing the like light version of that essentially, and I'm
Hmm.
enjoying it. Did I make a mistake jumping away from something that would have kind of guaranteed me a life of assisting people in this regard, helping students? And oh, it really hit me the hardest. I very vividly remember it was sometime around Christmas-ish last year, and I actually substitute taught for this one band director who had heard of me through when I was studying at college because I was a part of the kind of like highest jazz ensemble group, more or less. So, you'd get announced in the little kind of things for the shows we do. Certain schools would come over and watch, and it would be this whole thing. And apparently, he had heard of me, saw I picked up his whole kind of gig, substitute teaching, at least in Michigan. It's really nice. You kind of get to pick and choose when and where you work. I saw, band directing. I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a whirl. And I do that. And he had me like direct and he had me like actually give notes, play along
Hmm.
with the kids and stuff. And oh my goodness, it was the biggest like what if situation that could have happened to me at that point.
Oh
I
yeah.
had only been removed like a couple months essentially from college and all that stuff from that pathway, and it hit me like a freight train because I'm sitting there like during kind of my prep hour being like, this has been really awesome, this has been really fun. I could have had this for as long as I would have wanted if I were to have actually stayed and really
Hmm.
trucked through it. But at that same time, I found through other jobs and things like that, as much as I love the idea of helping people and all that stuff, one thing I will always kind of value, and this whole break has really taught me this, what I value more is my freedom essentially to do what I would like. Um, One thing that I'm kind of fortunate to have, I've been able to find a lot of like, kind of, I would say, slightly above entry level kind of positions and stuff like that that I've been able to, enter. And I've been able to work with people in higher positions quite like
Hmm.
simply and easy and be able to kind of, talk with them and all that stuff. And to hear all like the just annoying bits of, dealing with, PTO and sick days and all these other kinds of
Oh yeah.
things. It's one of those things where obviously to have a salary, to have benefits. Like I'm currently trying to figure out exactly what kind of route I want to go to get something of that nature without having to work like 60 hours a week, more or less,
Yeah.
all that stuff. But in that same vein, I nothing spurs me more to find my own kind of self-fulfilling success or just kind of my own self-supported success than that idea of finding, the freedom to do what I want.
Hmm.
So even though a majority of the downs have come from just little financial anxiety blips along the way, the biggest positive has been the ability to really find myself and to find what I know will truly be what I'm passionate in doing.
No, man, I 100% agree. A lot of people say like you got to go straight to work, you got to do this, you got to be comfortable, you got to, be stable, right?
Mhm.
Have structure, right? Have PTO, have salary, so you don't worry about it. And I respect the honesty about kind of getting thrown back into what you did have passion for and being like, wow, like I really could have done this for real, like it kind of hits you like a truck essentially, right? And
Mhm.
so, but then you think about it and you get time, you give it time, you didn't just say, man, I really had fun that day. I'm going back to school tomorrow. I'm going to go hit up the Monday. You actually gave yourself time to really think about like, okay, let me, kind of not necessarily step back, but stay still and be like, okay, let me just think for a second. And you did that, and you realize that that's not what you want freedom wise. And I agree, man. Nothing made me more locked in per se and doing what I want than two things. One, going and working life insurance. Two,
Mhm.
working blue collar outside. Like nothing makes you lock in more than working outside in Texas, cutting grass, moving wood. Like
Mhm. Yep, yep.
and I grew up in the South, Southeast, and so a lot of I'm Hispanic, and so a lot of my family did a lot of like sort of that stuff, right? It was like more
Mhm.
blue collar, and my dad, he was fortunate enough to get into safety, where he's sort of kind of watching everybody doing the work. He'll go outside and stuff like that, get a little hot, but he's not actually doing any manual labor per se, right?
Mhm.
So it made me think like, oh man, should I just kind of like throw away what I want and like kind of go to safety school just for a little bit, and then I can just sit here on my hot seat and watch everybody work and get paid. But it's moments like that where you got to realize you got to do what you want to do.
Mhm.
And so
Yep.
working outside and stuff like that made me realize that like I really need to lock in. I need to do what I need to do and what I love. And so that's why I decided to go back to school. that is just my decision. Have a lot of freedom right now. I got a stable job,
Hmm.
um, and have can pay my own bills more than enough. So, but it was really mentally different going
Yeah.
away from your parents, right? I mean, I know I'm not too fond of like or familiar with how your parental situation works or how close you guys are, but for me, um, like I mentioned earlier, I grew up in the South, so Southern hospitality. We're really big on like the son stays home until he's like 25. Like it's crazy. Like,
Oh,
and
interesting.
so yeah, it's like normal to like live at home past 25. And
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that. No one's kicking you out. No one's
Yeah.
telling you to leave. No one's asking you to really pay rent per se. It's just the way it is. And I realized that whenever I moved away, I really hurt my parents' feelings. And I didn't realize it at first. I thought they were okay with it, right? Because I was kind of like branching out on my own, doing my own thing, like paying my own
Yeah.
bills. I thought they'd be a little proud, but they made they it hurt their feelings, man. So, there's moments like that where I realized that I had to do what I wanted to do and put my parents' feelings aside. As much as I love my parents, I can't live with them. It's just not the right situation. To make it a long story short, to sort of live with
Yeah.
them again. And I know that they would love to have me home at any moment of the day, but at the end of the day, it's just not for me. And I know that. And you made that decision for yourself. It's just not for you, man. And so I
Yeah.
really like that about you. Kind of taking what you want by storm and kind of, handling it locked in. I like
Mhm.
that. So here's my favorite part, bodybuilding, right? I,
Oh yeah.
I really, really enjoy bodybuilding. Everyone knows, like, okay, Renee, shut up. We get it. I mean, growing up, literally, I'm watching Chris Bumstead on my YouTube on the TV. We have 80-inch screen TV. And my mom and my dad's like, dude, are you gay, bro? And I'm like, no,
No,
I'm
no,
not.
no. Dude, tell me about it. The first time, I got a little kind of a poster of Frank Zane, and I remember, kind of at my room back at home, I just had this little like poster board thing. I'm like, yeah, screw it. I pinned it up, and I just remember my dad kind of like looking at it for a second. I'm just like, thank God I have a girlfriend. So
My dad was the same way, man. Well, before it actually wasn't even bodybuilding, it was cross country. So I mean, I'm a little bit older than you. We're the same age technically right now.
yeah,
But I was class of 22. You're class of 23, right?
uh,
Uh
24.
oh, 24? Whoa. You're class of 24?
No, wait, no, 22. What the? My brain. No, I'm class of 22. My brain. Whew.
I was about to say you were a super senior or something. Uh,
Fortunately not.
but but as everyone knows, Everett Silva, Cooper Tier, kind of like the new generation track and field back in the day, back around
Yep, yep.
2020.
Mhm.
They were, posting their videos, and I would just, watch them all day long, especially during COVID, right? Everyone's home. My dad's home.
Mhm.
And he'd walk in the living room. I just went for a run, come back, put these guys on screen. They're wearing like 3-inch inseam shorts, no
Yep,
shirt,
yep.
and they're like, dude, could you watch anything else besides half naked guys run? Like what like what is the deal with this, man?
Mhm.
And I'm like, they're professional runners, and they're like, so you can just go run. So then I
Mhm.
always bring back that thing like, okay, then you can just go outside and play some football. You can go outside and play some
Yeah, I know
basketball, right?
exactly, exactly.
If
Yep.
you love it so much, you like watching professionals, right? And I love professional football. I love watching NFL.
Mhm.
So I feel like I got every right to say that. But yeah, so it began with the whole cross country. They were like, dude, what are you watching? And then bodybuilding came through. It's even worse because these guys are tanned and oiled and
Mhm. Yep.
all these things. So, they're doing glute spreads and stuff like that. So they're just like, what is this, man? Like, are you really into this? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's what I'm into. Funny story. My roommate, freshman year of college, he was a little bit older than me. I think I was 18. He was probably about 21. I think his name was junior year. And, our dorms weren't very big. They just weren't very big. And, he could see my TV at any point of the day. And so I would fall asleep watching like some bodybuilder content, something simple. At the time, it was like Sush and all that stuff. It was
Mhm.
2022, 23, James English. And eventually, you'd fall asleep and it'd turn on like a bodybuilding show or like someone's show day. And so my roommate left after like 3 months and he wouldn't come back for like a week. Like I never saw him in the room ever. And I was like, hey, where's he going? And I was like, I don't care per se because like we weren't really like close. We were just
Mhm.
roommates. We just kind of accepted each other, and so I was like, that's fine with me, man. Like I could call. I had a girlfriend at the time, and an ex girlfriend, and I was like, I can just call my girlfriend with no issues. I don't feel like I have to. I was cool with it. And then I was like, man, he really hasn't been here in over a week. Something's not right. So I go next door to the guy next door, because we would have our doors open. The rooms were like door here, door in front of you, door next to you, door in front of you,
Mhm.
back and forth parallel. And so we would all those four doors, we would all talk to each other a lot. We would kind of have conversations till like 2 a.m. And one day I went to the guy next door's room because he was trying to show me some funny video. And I realized that my roommate was in there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, right? Then I saw that all his stuff was there. Like half of his things were in there. So I was like, oh, he's moved in here. What the hell? You can't do that where we're at. And so I'm like, okay, whatever, right? And then I realized the next day he's like, I'm talking to that one guy, not my roommate, but the guy who lives there. And I was like, oh yeah, my girlfriend's coming to town next week. And he's like, girlfriend? I was like, yeah, I have a girlfriend. And they were like, dude, we thought you were gay. And I'm like, we? Who's we? And he's like, me and so and so. That's why he moved out. He kept seeing you like some dudes on your screen or something like that. He thought you were gay. And I was like, were these guys like tan or something like that? And he's like, yeah. He said they were like oiled up or something like that, shining. And I was like, oh my
Damn.
gosh. I was okay with it though. I was like, whatever, a little bit of a miscommunication for a room to myself for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so it happens. Whatever, right?
Mhm.
But when did you first like figure out that this was your niche, right? I mean, every runner starts out the same. I just want to put on some muscle. Maybe it'll make me run faster. It's the same
Mhm.
thing.
Yep, yep, yep.
So how'd that go about?
Oh, it was all, I mean, first when it came to just the lifting things in general, like I'd first seen like there's this one guy in my high school who was like, he was lifting and stuff like that. I see him in the weight room after hours. He never really did any sports. He was just in the weight room to do weight room things. And for me, who was mainly doing athletic stuff, I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Because I have zero recollection really of like knowing bodybuilding. I know my dad used to get those like kind of men's health magazines, and they used to have more of like the kind of outrageous looking guys. The first ever bodybuilder I remember seeing was I think like a 2000 like 12 rendition of like Kai Green or something like that.
Yeah, man.
I just remember seeing that magazine when I was little and being like, how do his butt cheeks look like that? Because they're so striated and just how long his ponytail was and just how like insane
Yeah.
his back was. But
He was interesting, a very interesting personality back in that 2010s bodybuilding for sure,
no,
man. He,
no, definitely.
yeah,
So, oh yeah, sorry. So that was like the first time I ever saw a bodybuilder. And so, but then again, it's like I didn't really know exactly what that was to begin with. I was too young to really know.
yeah.
So then I grew up. There was that one guy who was just training, and I would just see him like flexing in the mirror. I'm like, okay, that's interesting enough. And I started doing during COVID times, like a couple more calisthenic things in my basement and stuff. And it was cool because I would do that. I would take, the kind of adjustable dumbbells that I feel like every
Oh yeah. Every dad has in
yeah,
his
exactly. And
garage.
I'd start curling those for like 40, 50 reps or something like that because that was just like what I thought would work well. And then I would do that. School kind of started back up again. I'd show up for marching band in the morning. People would be like, hey, well, Trent, your arms are looking pretty well defined there, bucko. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I do that. And unintentionally it was like I was kind of doing that but then school actually started again, so I really didn't have time to do any of my 1 a.m. basement training sessions. And then I went off to college and I started it's like they had the rec center, the weight room and all that stuff that was available to anyone who was paying the ungodly tuition amount.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it.
And I was, I saw that, went there, started lifting, and then, I hopped on TikTok, like,
Oh, like anybody
terribly,
does.
like, oh, exactly. So at that point, I'd started looking up different things on TikTok. It's like good back days, good, chest days, and all this sort of stuff. And I started seeing, all these different people's stuff and things. I discovered, the Arnold split, more famous kind of TikTok creators, TNF, Cody
Yeah.
DL, Coach JPG, and all that stuff, or
Oh
JPG
yeah.
coaching,
You
whatever.
weren't there, man. You weren't there for the JPG lap pull down, man. I was there.
I was not. I was not. It's a staple of what I program for a lot of people because
Yeah.
it is a wonderful movement.
I love it, man. I do. I still do it. I prefer the bench though. I'll sit on the bench and I'll kind
No,
of
no,
just
yeah,
pull it. Yeah. But he would
yeah.
do it like on one knee and stuff. It was crazy.
But yeah, then I kind of found that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Then those same creators would talk about actual bodybuilders. And then I would unintentionally, be absorbing more bodybuilding content than I was ever intentionally seeking out because my mindset was still very much like, let's be a good athlete. The idea of bodybuilding was just still not really even there.
Yeah.
So then, things kept happening. I think it rolled around November And between all my running, between all my lifting, it's like, I've gotten relatively leaner than what I was. A skinny fat me had kind of shriveled away, and it was more just kind of a leaner, a little bit more muscular self. And I remember looking and being like, okay, well, this is interesting. This whole like kind of physique I got going on right now, like muscles are showing and all that stuff. And then my times had slowly, they just had not been improving running wise. They just kind of been even like tapering and being a little bit slower and slower. I try to time miles, I try to time 800s and things like that. And just nothing was really changing in that regard. And now having ingested a crap ton of different kind of like bodybuilding content, I sat down, well, theoretically, and I just kind of, well, I guess figuratively is the best term, but I just thought on it and it's like, what should I do here? Like, should I continue running as my 5'6" self with some, with my kind of frame being what it is, which I mean,
I hate to interrupt, man, but if I was 5'6", there would have been no brainer right there. I would have been like, I'm getting in the gym, dude.
no, exactly. And then I remember hearing like of these bodybuilders who were like 5'6" and stuff like that. Like Hadi Choopan, I remember hearing about him and how he was 5'7", and I'm just like 5'7", and he's good at this kind of sport. This seems like my kind of, cup of tea. And then I would say around it was probably December, no, actually, I would say January of 24 is when I kind of made the full commitment. No, it would be January 23 was like the full commitment for me, where it's like, okay, we're doing bodybuilding. We're going to be, researching all the stuff. We're going to be going into it. We're going to be kind of, if screw the running, we'll do cardio if we feel like it, and we're going to do mainly weightlifting stuff. And that was kind of like the big transition to me, more or less, just kind of realizing my stature, my frame, seeing the progress and how nicely it seemed to happen relatively quickly without me knowing jack squat about it as a whole.
Yeah,
And
50 reps, man.
hmm,
No, man, no, that's insane, dude. I like that sort of transition period for you, being able to realize what you need to do and kind of what you want, and it's just kind of making that full commitment. I
hmm,
don you for that. I never could. I just couldn't do it. I would just go back and forth, back and forth. I would literally go run a cross country meet at 9 a.m. and be hitting chest and back at like 1 p.m. And so, you know, someone just called me. I hope it didn't go wrong. But it would just, it was just such a back and forth for me, right? All my buddies make fun of me, like, they'd like start flexing their biceps, all funny, all funny.
hmm,
But I'd be like, I'm like, no, man, it's fun. Like, you gotta try it. I'm just, I'm like on Snapchat, like, who wants to go work out? Texting my friends, let's go work out. They're
hmm,
like, oh man, I don't want to work out. They're like,
hmm,
we'll run. And then like I finally got like one or two of them to come with me, and they were like, whoa. And at the time, I was doing like 4 sets of like 10. I remember this was my favorite thing to do. It would be 12, 12, top set of 10 because it's the heavier set,
hmm.
and then a back off set of 15 on everything. So like, and it was not like 4 exercises, it was
Yeah.
6 to 7 exercises, and it was just an insane period of time. But that was fun, man. It was fun. We were all 110 pounds soaking wet, getting called aesthetic, getting called Alex Eubank and stuff like that. And it was just 2022, Lex Little, all that junk that you see nowadays. They're like, oh, we could bring us back to the hardstyle days. Well, and that's kind of just really how it was. We just literally get
Yeah.
on and play hardstyle and work out like idiots, but it was fun. So I miss those days, and we just kind of move on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like that, man. I like how it started for you. It's not like it's some like, oh, I grew up hating myself, and I just needed something to change, man. Like, just every single sob story, which I commend. That's kind of what my story is, right? Like, I was super skinny and I was like, okay, I really want to put on some muscle. Like, I'm just tired of being skinny. Um,
Yeah.
but I like that. Like, it's a very happy story. It's different from
Yeah.
the usual person. It's not like you come down from some deep path that you need to start bodybuilding, right? It's just something that you enjoy.
Yeah. No, something I picked up along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So you coached a client, I believe his name is Mitri, or his account,
Milton. If it
Milton.
were
There
me,
you go.
if it were, it's like Milfit, I think is the count, dude. If it were like that Mitri guy, oh, I'd be
Oh
embarrassed.
yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The guy with the beard, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
Mitri. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I've seen some of his content. I think he's from Houston, actually.
Oh, nice.
Um, but yeah, dude, that guy's huge. Did you see his
Mhm.
stage presence?
Looks
He got his
phenomenal,
pro
man.
card. Dude, that guy is huge. And it's not like he's, it's I enjoy like watching someone go like, oh, I'm 20, 16 weeks out, and like they're lean, but they're not that lean.
Hmm.
This dude could have stepped on like stage like at 12 weeks out, like in my opinion, like
Hmm.
damn near like a quick peak week, and then he'd be good to go. So it was just pretty insane watching it all go down. I remember when he was like 8 weeks out. I was like, dude, just step on stage already. I don't really feel like more fat can come off.
No, dude, that's the craziest part about it because more fat can always come off. It is insane. Like, I'm currently working with a client right now, and it's the craziest thing because he's like 9 weeks out, and we already have him to a point where it's just like, we're gonna, he's telling me how he's having the kind of symptoms, I would say, of the prep that happened, like, should be happening 2 to 3 weeks out, 9 weeks out. So it's like, you're getting a couple more potatoes, my good sir. So
Yeah,
it's,
get you a hamburger, man. Get a little refeed. Yeah,
yeah,
no, man, that's crazy, man. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Not Mitri, but Milton, right? I
yeah.
saw some of his stuff. I liked it a lot. Very lame. What was that? What was that like? What was that like for you, man? I mean, he won his class, right? He won one of the classes.
He didn't win his class, unfortunately, but he won. There were other divisions.
Yeah, he
He
won
won his
something. I
class in
know
the
that.
overall, but he won. I can't remember. I think he got three first place
Yeah,
placements in some of the things he did. But that entire process was surreal, to put it mildly. Like, he came out, he reached out to me, I think like 12, 10 weeks out from his show day kind of deal. Or it was probably long, yeah, because it was April, then it went down in June. So yeah, around that kind of 2-ish month mark. And essentially from there, we ended up, working together. And it was one, I was so happy that someone with relatively, like, what I saw as good prospects as far as a
yeah.
physique and stuff like that was one reaching out to me. And someone who's just so willing to like put in the freaking work. Like, it was because this was my first ever like real stage prep. I talked with people. It's like, hey, we can work for each other for this amount of time, because a lot of people would reach out to me and be like, I want to put on muscle first, then do it. This was the first
Mhm.
person where it's like, this is happening in so and so amount of weeks. We're doing it, question
Yeah.
mark. And I said, heck yeah. So started off relatively simple, and all that stuff is just the basic cutting back the calories, adjusting his weightlifting program to.
Uh-oh. You there?
There we go.
What happened?
I
Was that
was
me? Or was that you?
Your thing froze. I have zero idea.
Okay, it's still going through. I'll probably just have to edit that part out. Yeah,
That's
you
okay.
just froze. I
But
turned off my Wi-Fi just to be safe, so I got good data. So,
all right, awesome, awesome. All right, so where should I start back from?
he was 8 weeks out or 10 weeks out,
Yeah.
and
So yeah, so he was 10 weeks out, something like that from the show. Good prospects. We just did gave him his whole food program, which is going to be when it comes to any kind of prep. The food is going to be the big thing because as long as, and this is putting it mildly, there definitely is more nuance to it, but as long as protein is high and fats are at a good enough level where hormone production and digestion can be okay, like, you're going to be able to make it through. It's just mainly carbs you want to manipulate. And then for as far as training goes, we just did a couple things to help try to bring out some weaker spots. But when you're on a prep, there's
it's
only
not. You're not going to build a whole lot. Yeah,
no, exactly. It's a game of trying to keep what you have more than trying
yeah.
to gain more. But as it went on, it was a heck of a lot of just like, it was very reactionary because I'd done a prep myself, but that was me, so I knew how my body worked. Working with someone else was definitely a different story. And I very vividly remember seeing it was like either 3 weeks out or 4 weeks out, something like that. He had in one of his check-ins, he had striated glutes, and I'm like, holy smokes, this is wonderful because he was a natural athlete too. So it's like, this is amazing. So I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, we're at a spot where I feel comfortable. Let's give you a couple more things of food leading into the peak week. That way, things will be relatively nice looking. You'll feel a bit more energetic. It won't be as big of a hassle to kind of get on stage. You won't be hopefully cramping as much and that. So I did that, gave him, I think, a couple more things of rice or something like that. Next day's check-in comes in, glutes are gone. He's watered, he's kind of washed over and all that, spilled
Yeah.
over, as we call it, and just the definition's lacking. And I initially panic internally. I'm like, oh shoot, I effed up. This is not great. And but then it's like, okay, my apologies, dude. We gotta reel back that food right now. And did that next day, glutes are back. And
Did it hurt his
I
feelings, man?
realized, no, no, exactly. And I literally told him, like, I'm so sorry, dude. But then what I learned from the whole thing is, and I learned from talking to my own coach and a couple other coaches as well, who definitely have a bit more higher success rate and just a little bit more kind of experience in the industry than I do thus far. That when you want to get to a certain level of leanness where it's impossible to essentially be washed out. And luckily, we got him to the point where that happened because instead of kind of doing the refeed strategy, we just kept depleting him. And it sucked for him. And I do recall, especially in person, he talked about it a little bit more, so it was a little easier to communicate face to face. He's like, dude, this is kind of sucked. And I'm like, I completely understand that. Been there, done that. I've never been like so angry eating asparagus than how I was during
Yeah,
my prep. Um, but then again, it worked incredibly well. And yeah, no, we ended up walking away looking incredibly lean, beat out a number of guys who were evidently on like gear, steroids and
yeah,
stuff. Like, you saw the puffy nipples, you saw just the other factors and stuff. And he was beating them out in some of the kind of divisions he was in. And he very well, in theory, could have taken second overall at that show. But in his class that he ended up going up against, he actually went up in against the guy who won the overall show. But in the final three of that overall, the second and third place guys were both dudes that he had beat earlier in the show in a different division. So I was sitting there
mm,
watching that take place, and I'm like, this could have been so much cooler on paper. But
yeah.
again, I mean, to pull off what he pulled off as a natural athlete at a whole competition where there were like, enhanced guys and all that stuff. To walk away down a hardware his first show, like it was just incredible. I was losing my mind in the audience. It was wonderful.
No, I bet, man. I mean, I looked at some of his stuff and he just looked like, and I was looking for him for inspiration at the time. When I saw him, I was like, I saw that you had reposted his video. And I was like, oh, why did Trent repost it? And I look at the comments and you're in the comments. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. Is this guy one of Trent's guys? And then I'm just like, I remember like getting leaner. Me, I have a wide waist. I just have always had a wide waist. If you look at the cross country days when I was 110 pounds, I had a wide waist. So if I had a wide waist then, I got a wide waist now.
Hmm.
And so, I would watch like everything slowly chip off, and it was just so fun. That was meticulously the funnest part about prep was like
Hmm.
seeing my abs come back. Like
Hmm.
I sent you the picture, like in the same mirror, same lighting, same everything.
Like,
I was a chonker, dude. Like I was like 180, no abs, no nothing, puffy nips, like. And then I look at like when I was like 160, I think the lowest I got was like 161.8.
hmm.
So I'm actually not very far off of that right now. I'm waking up like 164 flat or 163.8, somewhere around there. Waking up
Yeah.
around there. But it's a little bit different. When you're running, a lot of the water just comes on and off, on and off, on and off, versus
Hmm.
when you're only bodybuilding, then it's a lot harder for that to come off.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Um, but the muscle stays on easier versus the running part. But yeah, man, no, I was watching and it was so like surreal to watch it, even if it wasn't me. And I took a lot of inspiration, like dude, this guy, like, I really feel like he's going to do really well. Like, I want to do that well at some point. I got to keep going. Unfortunately, things happened and I ended up not finishing my prep. And I don't really have many excuses for that. It was a combination of like, okay, I didn't have like another cross country season coming up. Like, I got all these things coming
Yeah.
up. I got all these opportunities that came up. And I was like, I
Mhm.
can't say no to these. I really want to say yes, but I also want to finish this prep. And I was like, maybe I can finish this prep and then just go into it. And at the time, it just didn't make right. And then, like you said earlier, it's a selfish sport. So my partner, I was frustrated all the time. We live together, so it's a little bit different versus
Oh,
like when you're not around each other as much. Um, you know, and yeah, man, it was just it's an interesting way of life, bodybuilding, I think. And I think I commend anybody who's especially doing it at that top level. Um, not only are you like shredding away and all like that, and you're getting frustrated because you're on low calories, but you're also on like all these enhancements. So like as much as they do help with the recovery process, they can also mess with the mental process, right? I've
oh
seen
yeah.
so many stories of like bodybuilders becoming like more open to like, that side of the fence things just because they're
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
steroids. Like
Oh
just
yeah.
such an interesting topic to like,
Hmm.
they like you like, oh, it's like the whole drunk when people get drunk, like, oh, getting drunk is no excuse to act the fool, right? It's like it really does change you. Like, I mean, steroids
No.
will change you and like make
Mhm.
you different. And so that brings me to one of my last questions about bodybuilding for today.
Mhm.
Have you ever thought about taking steroids? And it was the closest that you've gotten.
Oh, so yes, most definitely yes. After doing that kind of first show of mine and stuff, I obviously had it did not go as well as I would have liked. Part of me still, after I was able to bring Milton to the place where he was able to win a couple of his divisions and all that stuff on stage, I kicked myself a little bit in the foot by thinking to myself, I was able to bring a guy to the level that I wish I could have been at myself, and that just did not. And just kind of having to deal with that repercussion and thinking about it. Um, I was just very kind of a little lost after that. But even beforehand, the idea of, having coached a guy at this level, having realized that I'm capable of bringing someone else, henceforth, I should be able to bring myself to a certain kind of extent of, success in the whole prepping process and things. It's just like, this is something I put a lot of time into, something that I really am passionate about. Why not take that next step? So the idea, and honestly, anybody who is really immersed in the bodybuilding culture, if they have, if they said, I've never been tempted whatsoever, I think
Oh, they're
it
lying.
lying, because the thing is, it's just like, I don't, even if it crosses your mind, it's like, what if that is temptation.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be this big old thing where you're holding the
Yeah, the
needle.
vial and don't put it in yet.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. But then on that same note is how close, literally the whole like vial thing, just kind of sitting there, just like, but because it is something that I really do want to commit to. And it's just one of those things. Also, it's you once again kind of in the same vein where it's like you hear how much this stuff can change a person, all that. It really does it's based on kind of who you are as a person to the prior to of it, because. I mean, there are plenty of people. One of my personal favorite folks, but some of my personal favorite things to see is just people being like, "You're gonna be a roid rager,
Age, yeah.
monster, all this stuff." But then you watch like the little videos, the kind of clips of the days of in a life, as your Chris Bumsteads, your Nick Walkers, your
Yeah.
Derek Lunsfords, and all that stuff, and they seem to be nothing but the most kind of like chill guys out there and all that stuff. They're obviously, you got to be just aware of like more or less how you're going to respond. And I'm biased on the matter. I do
Yeah.
find myself to be a little bit more of a preppier, go with the flow kind of guy.
Yeah. You
So
got that golden retriever energy, man.
I appreciate that. And I just, from a lot of people I've talked to, interact with, it just, I'm perceived and taken as very personable, very upbeat. And to me, the idea of then dabbling in something that could then enhance kind of who I am, because the biggest truth I found to the idea of, hopping on is like the roids gear will just make you more you. So, like, if you are a bad person, they're not going to make you
You're
any.
probably gonna be more angry when you're on roids.
No,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So, it is just one of those things that has turned more to a when. And it's just waiting for kind of the right moment. Because honestly, another thing that's kind of been one in a competitive sense, I just know I want to end up going for that IFBB Pro card level. And for those who may are listening who may not know, it's really, and I mean incredibly hard to get a IFBB Pro card, which is
Oh
kind
yeah.
of as like the professional league of bodybuilding, as the NFL is a
Yeah.
professional league of football, without having some kind of enhancements to
Yeah.
help you
It's
out.
impossible. And there's a lot of guys online right now and women that they post that they got their pro card, tops to them, and they're like, and then their bio says natural, and I'm like,
No,
dude,
it is a hard side eye. The
I'm
only
like, dude,
Yeah. The only
the girl
person.
with striated glutes and cap delts and
Hmm.
massive arms, natural, and I'm
No,
like,
n-
all
yeah,
right, bro.
admittedly, and just kind of talk on the fake natty subject for a second, it is so much more rampant in the women's side of the sport, than it is, I think, the men's side. Because there's this weird, like, obviously, I think anyone in the gym is great, but there's a weird bit of like naivety, I feel, when it comes to the women's side of it. Because I just find this in general. Women are definitely more supportive up front, like at just like face value. If you were to kind of do a testing group of just like women supporting women and men supporting men,
Yeah,
more women are going to support more women, like
yeah,
bar none.
fairly so.
No, and that's what you see. So it's like, go queen, slay girl, and all
Yeah,
that stuff. And because I think there's not as much of that kind of skepticism, like that little kind of like cynicism to that kind of side of it, the ability to be a fake natural on that kind of side of the internet is going to be a little bit easier to get away with. Whereas guys, people are calling evidently natural guys roided up,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stuff. So it's just like,
Well, I could look like that if I took steroids too, or he
no,
took the
exactly.
easy way out, or all that stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I
So
definitely agree, man.
yeah. So that's just an interesting thing in that regard. But the only guy I think that I really sincerely believe was natural that ended up getting his pro card only is that one Brinks guy. I'm not sure if you
I
ever
was actually thinking about the same guy. Yeah, I
yeah,
believe he got it. And
yeah,
to be fair, he did. He got it in a very nuanced or niche division. So it
yeah, it was
wasn't like
like
he won like
featherweight,
it
yeah.
wasn't like he won like Mr. Open overall IFBB.
No,
Yeah, like it was very niche.
yeah,
But
he
to
won
even
his
get it, regardless, like
oh
that
yeah.
dude has worked so hard. He was like 210 or like 5'7". Like
Mhm.
it was crazy.
And he cut down to like 150 something, which is
Yeah, like 140.
insane. Yeah.
And I believe it. I would believe he's natural. That and the temptation is real, man. I'm gonna
Mhm.
wrap up here a little bit. I'm gonna talk
Yeah.
about one last thing. I've thought about it not in the sense of like, oh, I want to like be. I mean, of course, I've always been like, I've been like, whatever, right? How much muscle I gotta put on? But two, I've always been like, I always took that away because it's like, okay, I'm not gonna ever think about doing that until I give it my all naturally because I've always been running on the side. Like I'll live for about 2 months and then I go run again
Hmm.
while lifting, of course. But it's not. I'm not gonna put on as much muscle as I can while I'm running 40-mile weeks.
Yeah.
And so, which that's a topic for another day about those hybrid athletes that are so
Hmm.
muscular and so fast. You're not,
Hmm.
um, but mine is injuries. I got a lot of injuries. I messed up
Hmm.
my left bicep for like 6 months. Watched a lot of Case and Granger taking BPC 157. He healed
Yeah.
his bicep in like 2 weeks, and I'm
Hmm.
just like, dude, I really want to take this. Like, it's banned by the OCB, but it's not banned by the NPC. You can take it in natural NPCs. I'm like, okay, well, if I ever
Hmm.
do compete one day, I can compete in NPC. Fine, that's fine, whatever. And then I just like I can't do it. I'm scared that I'm gonna like mess up like my needle one day or not clean it right or something's gonna go wrong. But like my left bicep, it's healed now, but it took so long. My left knee has been bugging me for about a year, and then like I have a little bit of nerve issues because of all that stuff.
No.
Sometimes when I'll walk and like randomly, I just feel myself kind of like I feel like my hand kind of just like crunch up a little bit, like
Yeah.
slightly, and I'm just like, this is like very scary. Like I want to heal from this kind of issue, and so that kind of like brings me to my last thing. All this talk about peptides and healing peptides and should they be natural or whatever. Like, what, I even told my dad to get on them because he has a lot of like shoulder issues and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
he's taken some testosterone before, so I was like, why not take some peptides? It couldn't be any worse than testosterone.
Hmm.
So but he's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I mean, swings your own, but you take testosterone, dude. Just take the peptides.
No, no, straight up.
I was like, I feel like if you've never taken anything before, then sure. But I'm still in my last year of cross country, and I'm pretty sure peptides are banned by the NAIA, so
No, I would assume so as well.
won't
Yeah,
be won't be taking any anytime soon.
yeah. I remember, oh my gosh, my sister actually, poor lady. She has tore both her Achilles, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
And I remember the second time she's a cheerleader at kind of like a nationally ranked college and all that stuff. And it's one of those things where I hear about them just like just take like VPC or something like that. Like I highly doubt they're gonna test you
Yeah, there's
admittedly.
cheerleaders on BPC. Get her out of here.
No, and
Right?
it's the idea of peptides, I feel it is a net positive, and there a lot of different conversations have come up in regards to them. Obviously, there are definitely a lot that I'm fans of, and all that, like BBC and TB500, those healing kind of peptides, I think should be way more widely used. I think there should be a fast track for the FTC to approve them for just more general public use because like the side effects have been shown to like not
Good
exist
either. Yeah.
essentially. There are of course like individual kind of things where some things may not react as well to some people as they do others. But as far as that goes, like overall, I do find them to be a net positive. When you get into the realm of things that do like I will kind of label as like what is it? Anabolic light
Yeah.
compounds, such as like your rad 140s,
Yeah.
your kind of M.
Yeah, I'm iffy on this too, but I feel like it should be open to like, like GOP, all that stuff, right? That's
Yeah.
open to the public. So like, why can't Aunt Sally, who's torn her labrum 5 times, have some BPC 157 so easily, right?
No, no,
But
exactly.
so
Yeah, yeah. With all that, it's definitely it depends on the person. Well, I feel the nuance of the whole like kind of peptide discussion. It does come down to like an intellectual thing. I feel like it really depends on who you talk to. I've had many of online debates and comment chains with the people who are like BPC or it's like MK is natty and all this stuff.
oh
And you're like
yeah,
you're
it's an
lightly
oral, so it's natty,
no, no. It's like you're lightly trying to kind of hack your kind of growth hormone production, your growth hormone secretion, and stuff like that. Not quite. Your Rad 140 shuts down your testosterone without even like actually having a backup of test to kind of make it worthwhile. And even then, Rad isn't even worthwhile. And I feel like when done for more of, they would say, the like cosmetic quality of life things, there's definitely a route for peptides. As far as their involvement with bodybuilding and them being a real sincere, like kind of life-changing thing, that's why we have, I mean, as I we have, it's like that's why there are just straight up anabolics because peptides that kind of lend themselves towards that more anabolic kind of idea of things, they are steroids that can do it better. That's kind of the biggest thing there. But things that really don't get into that kind of realm, like so, like the things we've been talking about, even like your melanotams and other things, that just kind of help your
Oh yeah.
body do. Like it just they're just kind of nice things. They're just kind of I view them as like tomorrow's multivitamin, essentially. Because there was a time where the multivitamin came out, and people they were questionable. It's like, what do you mean? There's a vegetable in a pill, and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. And
Creatine's a steroid too,
no, no, exactly. Yeah, no, I honestly the most recent thing being creatine. Like people are just like, oh my gosh, it's a powder. Ah, peptides are probably going to be in that same realm. And obviously, I feel like it definitely has a couple more years to go. It has a couple more. What really just needs to happen is there has to be, I don't know if any country does it or really has it approved to be like, acceptable for doctors to be like, go grab, your YHK11, whatever the heck kind of letters and numbers are thrown together off the countertop or whatever, and then go check out real quick, or like go pick it up from your prescription pharmacy. Because once I think that happens and more people can kind of see the overall benefits, because the unfortunate part is the peptide stigma is correlated with the steroid stigma
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
I think if it's in a needle, people are just like, you know.
No, no, exactly. I mean,
L-carnitine was kind of like a little iffy too, like
no, no, exactly. Yeah. So, like once again, I guess the baseline of just my thoughts on them, they are like the thing of the future. They are going to be incredibly helpful to people as a whole. It's just going to take a hot second for people to really get
yeah,
on board.
yeah. I mean, it's the same way people used to be the same way with like your Slim Fast, your Ozempic, stuff
Mhm.
like that. Everyone just kind of gets eventually kind of accepted. I think it should be available easily for like Aunt Sally, right? But maybe some people are questionable about it being available to like NFL players, basketball players, right? But
Mhm.
trick is, it's already available. Why do you think they heal so fast? But you don't want to
No.
say that, right? So, all right,
Mhm.
Trenton. Last thing, rapid fire. We'll do these questions
All
rapid
right.
fire. So remember, the rapid fire. No time to think. You get like,
Gotcha. Let's go.
and then we'll end it off from there. All right, ready? We're gonna do a couple different categories. So we'll do like a little bit of normal, a little bit of fitness, whatever, right? All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs or cats? Was that it? All right, dogs, dogs.
Where's my cat at? Can get you. One thing you could eat every day.
Give me a burger.
Nice. Dude, I love sweet potato fries.
Oh, dude, that is solid.
Favorite pump up song?
Favorite what song? Pump up
Pump,
song?
yeah. Or
Oh,
like
pump up
PR
song.
song. There you go.
Oh, PR song. Oh, shucks. Give me this is a tough one. My music taste changes on the daily. Right now I'll go The Biggest Part of Me by Ambrosia.
I'll go Treat You Better by Shawn Mendes.
Nice.
Um, favorite workout group, or not favorite workout group, favorite muscle group to train.
Give me back.
All right. Now, last thing, if you could have one, yes, if anybody ever somehow knows, I got this last one from Men's Health Magazine, whatever. If you could choose someone to train with, no matter what time and no matter what their age is, who would you train with?
Oh.
So you could choose a 10-year-old baby Arnold, like it don't matter.
No, yeah. Really show them what for, yeah. Oh, shucks. If I could choose anyone to train with, I'd have to go. Oh, that is a tough one and a half. I Oh, rats. No, this one's stumping me. There's just so many. I'm going down the list of all the different athletes and stuff that I've known. Oh, let's go. Honestly, give me like 90. I think no, it wouldn't be 98. Give me like 94 Sean Ray.
John Ray, yeah, bandana style.
Yeah, no, something about that era is kind of
Yeah.
just his ideas of just like the feel it kind of training. I would
Mm.
just like to see how he went about that a bit more because I feel like everyone else is very documented about what they did. But I mean, someone such as like Sean Ray was very just
Cover
like,
up Jay Cutler.
yeah, say yeah. Yes.
Man, I've always thought about that question too, dude. I don't know. I
Hmm.
really don't know. There's so many great bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Like when I started thinking like Lee Priest. I started thinking of all that. But Lee Priest's training style, I've seen him train. It wasn't all like all that. It wasn't like my favorite thing, right? But he looks insane. So,
Yeah.
but then you got your Ronnie Coleman's, all that stuff. But I would never, ever, ever train with Arnold. I'm not doing 5 sets of 15 on bench
No,
press and
dude.
6 different exercises. I don't
No,
know.
because not only would I look like an absolute freaking puss, I would be mogged the entire time as well. It would just be.
Actually, you know who I would train with? Not a
Oh,
bodybuilder per se, but Sylvester Stallone back in the
no,
80s.
dude, yeah,
Because
yeah.
he was training with Lou Ferrigno, I believe, for a little bit and
Hmm.
learning from him. Because, dude, he just looks so insane in Rocky 4 and
No,
Rocky
dude.
3. Like this is why people think bodybuilders are gay, but his
Hmm.
waist was just like so tight and his
Hmm.
obliques would like they're
Dude,
so shredded
gnarly.
and his
Yeah,
delts were just so huge. Him or Ivan Drago, but Ivan Drago's like 6'5", so it's like it doesn't
yeah,
look it looks insane because he's so big, but measurements wise, I mean, Sylvester Stallone's
yeah.
was just so insane. I think he's only like 5'10". So,
Yeah, yeah.
it just, dude, he just looked absurd, man. I don't know,
I
but
remember
yeah,
reading.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead. My fault.
I just remember here reading an article about his training methods and going like, how did that man not die? I think it was during his Rocky 3 stuff where I was like reading up on all he was doing, and it was like actually terrible and very
I
like,
think I saw one where it said like he had like these little like vitamin shots
"Hmm?"
on set where he'd have to go take them every shoot because he was like he was so lean that he would like start to pass out.
Exactly. Yep,
And
yep, yep.
like he was lean. He was like at least 6% body fat in those movies. Like
Hmm.
there was like, oh, they pump up before the scene. I did. That ain't pumping up. That's
Nah.
no, that he looked insane. And
Hmm.
that's so funny because no one's boxing that lean. You're gonna get knocked
No.
out in one punch.
No,
you're,
exactly.
you're gonna get hit with one punch and all your blood's gonna be gone already.
Yep,
But
yep.
it looked cool for the time,
Oh
so
yeah.
why not? But all right, Trent, I thank you for having you on, man. You have a lot of nuance, a lot of things I like about you. Hope your bodybuilding dreams come true. Hope your music dreams or whatever else you got going on comes true.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you got more muscle, my friend, again, I will be messaging you as soon as possible whenever that time happens. But for now, bodybuilding has been put aside for me. I still do it every day, but it has been more of a four
Yeah.
times a week thing versus a full-time deal.
Hmm.
Um, Focused on running. If you look up Truett Haynes, dude, that's where I'm at right now. Truett
All right.
Haynes, dude, he's insane, man. But all right, Trent, glad having you. Maybe I'll have you on again eventually, but we'll see how it
Yes, sir.
goes. Yeah, man. Have a good day, man.
You as
Yeah,
well.
got any final words for the audience?
Uh, don't get stuck up on one thing. Too much in life is ever changing. Make sure that you do your best to, stick the good path, hold your morals to you, but everything else can kind of go any which direction and you can still end up happy.
I like it. All right, man. You have a good one.
So, bye.